Welcome back. Ed Martin here in a Pro-America Report. It's time to be joined by our old friend, Dr. Brett M. Decker, the New York Times best-selling author. He's written many books, including one noteworthy one in sort of what the context of what's going on called Bowing to Beijing, which is about Obama's policies toward China. And there's a lot of coverage right now of the book supposedly coming out by John Bolton about President Trump's dealings with China and all. And I'm not sure I believe any of it. But anyway, Dr. Decker also was the Wall Street Journal reporter over in Asia, and we're editorial page editor for the Washington Times, and now is a professor at Defiance College in Ohio. Welcome back, Dr. Decker. How are you?
I don't know. It seems like every day I look at the news and there's some other ridiculous ruling out of the Supreme Court that's just chipping away at the Constitution. So I guess,
Well, so let me ask you about this one because
yeah.
Yeah, and let me ask you about this one. Yeah, the Gorsuch decision a couple days ago that take the definition of male and female sex and then turn it into whatever, carte blanche. I guess here's what I want to say. You've been a long time conservative. You've been writing about these issues. You observe politics though too. Is it possible to get a conservative vetting process where you actually know these people are going to go and serve on the Supreme Court and not lose their mind?
I mean, I think it's an important question, right? And I think, Gorsuch, if you look at it, especially compared to Kavanaugh, not like Kavanaugh is any fire-breathing dragon, but if you look at Gorsuch, he really skated through. So opposition research for the Democrats must have known, this guy's no problem. I know when they were vetting him, in our circles, conservative circles, Christian circles, there was a lot of focus on, he belongs to some left-wing church in Colorado, and, he drives by 5 conservative churches to get there. Well, when religion is one of the main battlegrounds of the culture war in this country, if someone's not that religious, well, maybe that's bad, maybe it's not. But if you do go to church and you go to one that is opposed to everything like conservatives stand for, that should raise some eyebrows, and it didn't. Anytime anybody wants to bring up anything and an administration's trying to push through some nominee and the Democrats are on board, like, let's just get this done, our side always gets rolled, right? So, the famous one like Souter, when Poppy Bush was pushing Souter through, and everyone's like, oh, we hear some bad stuff out of New Hampshire about him. Well, they sent Governor Sununu, Daddy Sununu, to just tell everybody, look, I've known this guy for 40 years. He's solid. Well, he ends up being one of the worst justices in a long time. So, I think it's very hard if someone's any good for them to sort of make it through the process. And then who's doing a lot of the vetting? A lot of times it's squishy Republican establishment people anyway, right? So.
The question I have, by the way, on this decision with Gorsuch, the Gorsuch decision on Title VII, if you look at Alito's dissent, he basically says all the groups were weighing in on the other against this decision before. He was saying the position in Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, Protestant, because they were worried about what this will do. If Title VII can be used as a tool, you really can picture religious institutions being hamstrung. Because you might still get away with being a church if you're the church, but if you're anything ancillary related to a church, like a school, you probably can't discriminate. No one. I was trying to tell this on a radio interview the other day. After the Civil Rights Act, you couldn't say, I have a religion that discriminates against African Americans. That's not allowed. That's not considered a strongly held belief that's allowable in terms of religion. Just like you can't have a religion that says, I want to have polygamy, or a religion that says, I want to have underage relations with minor, or underage relations, right? So if Title VII can be this way, then you say, well, you're running a school, but you can't have any policies that discriminate against transgender. Or again, right? So, it's coming right at the heart of the American tradition of having all this pluralism in demanding that, but the demand is on secular. You have to be a secularist and subscribe. It's almost it is the opposite of tolerance. It's intolerance. Nothing's going to be tolerated except the secular religion. And I don't think people see it. I don't think people see the threat.
Well, it's really an important point in how this takes it to the new level. And just in the last year, right, there are always cases of like a Catholic school will fire a principal, or not that long ago, there's one fired a theology teacher who was in a same-sex marriage. Well, how can you teach Catholic morality if you're in a same-sex marriage, right? And at the time, a lot of the defense, and usually the schools win these things because they're like, well, that's opposed to this religion's doctrine. But a lot of what the legal reasoning is on the victory is, well, there's also a distinction between sex, which is one thing, and sexual or gender identity with another. Well, this new Gorsuch ruling obliterates that difference. So that takes away one of the main protections for Christian schools and other religious schools. And if you look, this is always a camel's nose under the tent. You know, like right now they're already throwing it out there. Like all of the LGBT groups are saying, okay, we'll carve off an exception for ministers. Oh, thanks a lot, right? So we won't go after your priests and your rabbis and imams. But they're saying that's it. Well, that doesn't last very long either, because even in Canada, right, they've arrested priests for speaking against homosexuality in the pulpit. Well, wow. So even the sanctuary is not safe once you once these laws start going into effect. So very dangerous.
And we're talking with Dr. Brett M. Decker. I want to ask you the observation on the Supreme Court's decision today, which is, yesterday, the DACA decision about, so Chief Justice Roberts basically comes out and says, I'm not saying you're not allowed to do that, to get rid of a program that Barack Obama started with his pen, but you didn't do it right. You didn't go through the process right. And you know, I know you worked in the White House, you've worked in the administration, the W. Bush administration, and again, you've covered the administration. You've covered the communist administration in China when you were in the Wall Street Journal based in Hong Kong, all this stuff. At a certain point, it feels to me like you've got the bureaucratic class, the judges collaborating with the bureaucratic class to say, we're going to run things. Because how much clearer could it be that Barack Obama started a program with his pen and Donald Trump tried to reverse it with his pen? And somehow you can't reverse Obama.
And I think that's really fundamental. A lot of people are missing this. The immigration issue is important, but what Chief Justice Roberts is doing with this is even more dangerous, because what he's saying is, right, Obama, and the context is important, Obama's executive order for DACA was because he said he wasn't going to enforce congressional law. So already Obama was saying he wasn't going to do his sworn duty to the Constitution to uphold the laws of the United States, right? So Obama's executive order was already a violation. But now what they're saying is a president, and really getting rid of a previous president's executive order, that should be one sentence. It shouldn't be any complicated forms and process. So what they're saying now, and this is pretty profound, Chief Justice Roberts is saying it's very hard. In fact, there's a higher standard for a president to cancel a previous president's executive order. It's really nonsense. And what it really is, it's the next stage of the left and the deep state and the establishment trying to say, look, elections don't matter. Because it's very clear, right? One of the biggest issues President Trump was elected on was immigration. Getting rid of this should have been one of the easiest things. And you have some judge saying, no, you can't do it. So it's just another way, for the swamp to say this president can't do what he wants. And to me, it's really scary.
Yeah. We're talking with Dr. Brett M. Decker. Let me get one more question here that I want to ask you about the politics of this. So now you've got a situation where the people who voted for Trump and went with him when he nominated Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and said, yeah, he's got all these judges. Isn't this great? Now they see Gorsuch let them down. And, you know, I often describe to people you have to go back in time to understand how powerful it was to get to late October in 2016 and just tell voters someone's going to replace the late Justice Scalia. The seat's empty. It's going to be Hillary or Trump. Who do you want? And they picked Trump. I think that was a big factor for pro-life Catholics, for evangelicals. Now you say to pro-life Catholics, evangelicals, trust him again. He's going to put out a new list. He said yesterday Trump's going to put out a new list. Trust him again, but I mean, 1 for 2. I mean, he's 1 for 2 on the big pick. I don't know. I mean, again, politics is the art of motivating as well as delivering, policies, motivating voters. Feels like voters may be like, yeah, I guess we're not going to get what we want, right? I mean, where am I wrong?
Well, and a lot of voters have long memories, right? At least in this case, we were in like knee pants when Reagan was promising to make the court good. He put Kennedy on there, right? Daddy Bush put on Souter. So it's not only just applying to Trump. It's kind of like the Republican base, Republican voters are like, wow, for 40 years we've been hearing about how the GOP is going to fix the court. And there could have been the most solid majority for those 40 years if these Republican presidents did their job. And the reality is they haven't. None of them, right? So, and I think that's pretty scary, right? Eventually, I mean, the Republican Party, people are going to be like, you know what, they don't get it done. Even if you look at how much senators and congressmen attack Trump all the time, well, the base loves Trump. So what does that say about where the party is? And I think eventually people are just going to stop showing up.
All right. Well, I'm glad you didn't stop showing up, Dr. Brett M. Decker. Thanks for joining us. Remember, go to proamericareport.com and you can get signed up for my daily email and also get these great interviews like the one with Dr. Decker. We got to run, though. We'll be right back. It's Ed Martin here in the Pro America Report. Be back in a moment.